Hello and welcome to Raus IAS. This is the Daily News Simplified for the date 7th of May 2024. And for our today's discussion, we will be dealing with these following 6 articles, 3 of which are related to mains discussion. And these articles are Intellectual Property Rights Issues in India. The second article deals with carbon farming. And the third article deals with Muslim quota, the debate around Muslim quota. And then we will be seeing 3 MCQs for prelims. So before we start our discussion, the Raus IAS optional orientation classes are going to be conducted on 11th and 12th of May this month. And these classes, the registration for these classes can be done in the online mode and offline mode. And the link for this registration is provided in the YouTube description box. And these classes are free for all. So you can join these classes by registering in the link given below. So let's start our discussion, and if you like our video, give us a thumbs up, and if you have any doubts regarding this session, you can ask us in the comment section of our YouTube video. Okay, so let's start our today's discussion. The first topic of our today's discussion is inspired by this news article which appeared on the page number 6 of the Hindu Business Line. Now this article says that India makes rapid strides in intellectual property rights. So as per this article says that India has crossed a milestone in terms of granting intellectual property rights in the financial year 2024. So the author says that if we compare this granting of IPR in the financial year 2017, India granted nearly 10,000 IPR rights in 1 year, okay, in one financial year. And now in the last financial year 2023, India granted more than 1 lakh intellectual property rights. Okay, so this is a major milestone. Okay, so in this article we will be dealing with that what are intellectual property rights, okay, and why are they important, and what are the challenges in India regarding intellectual property rights. Okay, now this article is important for us for our GS paper 3 Science and Technology. Under the syllabus head, awareness in the fields of IT, space, computer, robotics, nanotech, biotech, and issues related to intellectual property rights. So, if we see from this theme, we found a question in the year 2014 and we found a question in the year 2030. So, lately a question hasn't been asked from this theme. So, this theme becomes important for you. Okay. Now, see, let's start with that what are intellectual property rights? So, intellectual property rights are any kind of legal rights. They are given to their owners for exclusive use of those product or processes which are given intellectual property rights. Okay, so these are exclusive rights of ownership which are given to their owners or creators for their creations of mind. So these IPRs, they can be categorized into multiple types. Let's see this briefly. First of it is patent. So what is patent? Patent is a kind of intellectual property right which is given to the creator. It is an exclusive right which is given to a creator who has created any innovative product or process of any commercial use. Okay, so only this owner can via this process use, manufacture or produce any product. Okay, so this is patent for any commercial discovery. And then second type is copyright. So what are copyright? Copyrights are any right for any authorship. So if there is an author, say author of any music, of any other literary creation, say any novel, any article, so for any work of authorship, these copyright can be given to that author. Okay, and then we have trade secrets. What are trade secrets? Trade secrets are these are the rights which are these are some kind of business secrets. Okay, so trade secrets are any kind of business secrets which can significantly benefit any business house. Okay, so that's why they are kept a secret. So these trade secrets are also categorized as intellectual property rights and they can be protected under this IPR regime. And then we have industrial designs. Industrial designs can be given IPR protection. And say for example, say any IC chip, say the design of any integrated chip, it can be given IPR right for its protection. Or any luxury car, okay, its design. So any kind of industrial design can be given IPR protection. And then we have trademarks. What are trademarks? Trademarks is any kind of symbol, logo, brand, tagline, which differentiate one brand from another brand. Okay. And then we have plant variety protection. Plant variety protection are a kind of rights which are given to the breeders of any particular plant. Say any breeder has created a new plant variety. So in order to protect his creation, he would be given plant variety protection for exclusive use of that plant variety. Okay. So, and then we have geographical indications. So a GI tag is given to any product which gains importance because it is found at any particular location. For example, Darjeeling tea, Banarasi silk. So these are the type of geographical indications. So in India, we have Indian Patents Act 1970. We have Indian Copyrights Act 1957. We have Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act 2001. We have GI Protection Act 1999. So we have various laws in order to provide the owners of these rights protection. Okay. So together these are the type of intellectual property rights. So we have seen that what is intellectual property rights and what are its types. So now let's talk about the IPR regime in India. Now see, India is a member of World Trade Organization. So India is signatory to TRIPS agreement. TRIPS is trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. So what does TRIPS do? TRIPS is a kind of legal agreement which fixes some standards for IPR protection. Okay. So the countries who are the members of World Trade Organization, they have to follow these standards in order to protect intellectual property rights in the country. Okay. So India is signatory to this TRIPS agreement. India signed it in 1995. And then India is a member of WIPO. WIPO is World Intellectual Property Organization. It is a specialized agency of United Nations. Basically, it's a global body for protection and promotion of intellectual property right. Okay. And then see, we have all these type of acts. We have all these acts which we saw here. So to streamline all these acts, we have a national policy of intellectual property rights. India framed this policy in the year 2016, which will streamline all the acts for IPR protection. And then that is, it will create a legal framework that how, say for example, how a patent can be awarded in India, what would be the process of filing a patent, okay, and if there is any dispute, what will the process of resolution of dispute. Okay. So all these processes which revolve around how IPR is granted. So this national policy on IPR, it provided a legal framework for it, and it envisions India to be a intellectual property right hub globally in order to foster innovation, right, and in order to protect the right of owners as well as balance the right of owners as well as users. Now let's see that why are intellectual property rights important. Now they are important because if the intellectual property rights of the creators are protected, it means that it would foster innovation. How? Now see, if say there is any discovery for which if any patent is given for any discovery, then the owner, he will have exclusive right how he would sell those product or processes. Okay. So it will ensure his economic gain, as well as this will also ensure that technology is being transferred across nations. If say in any country, if its IPR regime is weak and if protection is not given to these owners, they would be hesitating in transferring their technologies to these countries, right? So that's why protection of IPRs, it is needed to foster the culture of innovation. Then only they will be motivated enough to spend more in research and development. Then only this will promote responsible use and the sharing of technology and processes to other countries, right? And then this will balance the right between creators, who are the owners, and also the users, okay, in order that the users are not exploited by these creators, okay. So this is the need for a strong IPR regime in any country. Now India, the IPR ecosystem in India is recovering, or it's going in a positive path, but still we have certain challenges. What are these challenges? Let us see. See, the first challenge in IPR regime in India is the lengthy patent examination process and inadequate workforce in patent office. Now see, when a patent needs to be filed, so the process, the application process, right from the application process, it takes a huge duration, it takes a long duration. And right from when application is filed and when the patent is delivered or the patent is granted, this process is very long compared to other countries like China and US. Now and also we have inadequate workforce, say patent examiners, patent controllers. These are the workforce in patent office who are responsible for examining the applications, okay. So we have inadequate workforce in patent office, because of which there is a lengthy there is a delay in granting patents. And if we compare our patent ecosystem with US and China, we saw that in the year 2023 India achieved 1 lakh, the milestone of 1 lakh patents, but in the same year the patents which were granted in US were 3 lakh, and in China the patents granted was 7 lakh. We are relatively far from these countries, okay. And then next challenge is weak enforcement of Copyright Act. Now see, India has a Copyright Act 1957, but despite having this act, there is a weak enforcement of this act, because of which what happens, mainly in the digital realm, say the digital media, for example, we can say films, movies, or any novel, anything, these are easily pirated, okay. So there is a issue of piracy. And then more importantly, in the pharma sector also, there is a presence of more counterfeit drugs or generic drugs or counterfeit drugs, fake drugs, okay, due to weak enforcement process in India. Now as a result, US, it places India in the United States Trade Representative 301 special list. Recently we covered this article. So this list represent countries whose IPR regime is weak, okay. Now other issue is evergreening of patents. Now under the section 3D of Indian Patents Act 1970, so there are strict provisions with regard to evergreening of patents. Now let's understand this. See, evergreening means that if the patent which was granted in the first instant, see, this patent has a limited time duration. In India, a patent can be granted for 20 years. And after this time duration has lapsed, a secondary patent can be filed. But there are strict conditions for filing secondary patent. These conditions are that only when there is a condition of novelty, that is, there is a significant difference in how, in the processes of first time when patent was given and in the secondary patent, if there are significant difference in terms of the say process, in terms of formulation, or in terms of efficacy. Now for example, there is a drug. Now if a drug manufacturer wants to take a second time patent, then that drug should have the element of novelty, right? So then only the secondary patent for that drug would be given, okay. So this discourages some countries, especially some countries, say foreign countries, foreign pharma countries, who want to invest in India and who want a patent in India. So it discourages them, okay. And secondly, because of which, see, ascertaining that what are minor modifications, because patent will not be awarded for minor modifications in drug formulations, okay. So ascertaining that or finding that that what are minor modifications, that is, there can be dispute in ascertaining that these modifications were major or minor. Okay, so because of this dispute, it takes a lengthy legal route. Okay, then second thing is another thing is compulsory licensing. So Indian government under the section 84 of Indian Patent Act 1970, there is a provision of granting compulsory licensing. For example, say there is a drug which is patented. Now Indian government can give that patent to any third party to manufacture that drug. Okay, for example, recently there was a drug for treating cancer, Glyvic. So for it, Indian government gave a compulsory licensing patent to a Indian pharmaceutical company. So this was a drug which was manufactured by US manufacturer Bayer. It was patented, but India gave its compulsory licensing. Under compulsory licensing, India gave it patent to manufacture a generic drug to treat cancer to an Indian pharma company. Okay, now this will hamper the rights of patent holders. Okay, now this is an issue with compulsory licensing, and they will be discouraged in investing in filing patent in India. And then there is a lack of data exclusivity or protection. So what is data exclusivity? See, data exclusivity means that in the time duration when the application for a patent is being filed. So see, when to file a patent, an application has to be filed, and then after a certain time duration, the patent is granted. But see, in this lean time, a protection, India lacks a provision to grant protection to these companies in this lean time, right? And now this is known as protection to test data. So this protection to test data is not present in India, because of which this test data, for example, in the case of say pharma, this test data, its advantages can be taken by generic drug manufacturers. Okay, so it could be a harm to this patent applicant. Then the next issue is complex legal proceedings. Now see, there was an intellectual property appellate board, which this was a quasi-judicial body, and it specifically dealt with all the disputes related to IPR regime. Okay, so all the dispute related to it was dealt by this intellectual property appellate board. But government abolished this intellectual property appellate board in the year 2021. Now all the dispute related to IPR issues would be catered by high courts. So in one sense, it is burdening to high courts, and in the other sense, we lost a specific tribunal or board that would deal with patent issues or IPR issues. Okay, so these are certain challenges in the India's IPR system. So what could be the way forward? The way forward could be the holistic review of the national IPR policy. So the IPR policy, which was enacted in the year 2016, it needs to be reviewed. It needs to be reviewed, keeping in mind the emerging trends of innovation, research, and challenges. Also, the implementation of various acts in India should be made more effective. For example, there should be fixed timeline for various steps in filing applications. That is, there should be speedy patent granting. There should be a timeline to grant patents speedily. And then for the intellectual property right enforcement agencies, there should be capacity building of these resources for these agencies. And also there is need to speeden the recruitment of these resources, as we saw that India lacks adequate resources in the patent office, that is patent examiners as well as controllers. So we need their speeded recruitment process. Okay, and then India can do, we can establish a central coordination body which will cater to intellectual property right enforcement, and it will deal with intellectual property right crimes. So a central body for it should be established, and then some specific legislation can be enacted to curb counterfeit, counterfeiting and piracy. And then there should be dedicated bench in high courts that would deal with intellectual property right issues. And then we saw that for the patents which are pending or they are in application mode, there can be a patent pending status which can be given such that they before such that their rights are not hampered. Okay, and then India needs to expand its physical and digital infrastructure. For example, India needs more artificial intelligent search engines or cyber cyber systems in order to cater the emerging demand in the ecosystem, in the IPR ecosystem. And then other thing is promoting awareness and promoting fostering the culture of innovation. This can be done by increasing funds in research and development, increase spending and increased industry, education, collaboration. Okay, so a culture of innovation should need a culture of innovation needs to be fostered in India. Okay, so this is all about this article. Now let's move on to our second article. This appeared on the page number 8 of the Hindu. Now this article is about carbon farming. So in this article we will see what is carbon farming, and this is important for our GS paper 3 environment under the syllabus head conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environment impact assessment. In the previous year we found these questions basically regarding to this theme in environment, that is conservation of environment. Okay, and this carbon farming is one technique that could be used in conserving the resources. Now let's understand that what is carbon farming. See, carbon is the basic building block of life. Carbon is important for all living forms, animals, plants, microbes, for say certain processes. For animals, carbon is for plants photosynthesis. We release carbon in the process of respiration. That is, carbon is essential for various biological processes in humans as well as plants. Okay, and then other thing is, other keyword here is farming. This is carbon. Carbon is vital or building block of life. And then we have farming. So what is farming? Farming includes various practices that which relates to say production of crops and then raising livestock. Now what is carbon farming? What is carbon farming? Carbon farming is a kind of practice whose major goal is to store carbon or carbon storage. Why carbon storage? In order to enhance carbon sequestration. So the basic goal of carbon farming is to do farming, to incorporate such farming practices that would store more carbon or that would release less carbon. Okay, now why is this needed? This is needed to restore the health of ecosystem. This is needed to restore the health of soil, and this is also needed to enhance the agricultural productivity. And finally, this is needed to mitigate the climate change. Okay, or for greenhouse gas or for reduction in the production of greenhouse gases. So what is the goal of carbon farming? To enhance carbon storage. And how can we do this? We can do this by certain tools. What are these tools? We can use regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture means utilizing the soil resources in sync with utilizing resources such that these resources are in sync with restoring the health of ecosystem. So there are various tools for it. What are these tools? First tool is agroforestry. Now what is agroforestry? Agroforestry is a practice in which we can plant trees and shrubs along with crops and rearing animals. Now see, let's connect it with our goal of carbon storage. Now when in such a field where crops are planted, with trees, then these trees, they will provide shade to these crops, which will lead to lead to preserving of moisture in the soil. This can and these combination of these shrubs, these tree shrubs and crops, this will lead to restoration of soil health. Okay, and this will lead to less soil erosion. And together with it, see, one element, that soil health is being preserved. Okay, and the second goal is that agriculture productivity would be improved because this soil health is preserved. And the third goal is that this carbon will be stored. How? Carbon will be stored in the leaves of these trees, in the roots of these trees, or in the bodies of these trees. Okay, and so this is the first thing, agroforestry, by utilizing agroforestry techniques. What is the second method? Second method, this can be used by conservation agriculture. Now, conservation agriculture, again, it means conservation of soil. So we will see all these things only, that in this conservation agriculture, first method is zero tillage. What is zero tillage method? Zero tillage method is that when any say farm, it is not tilled and directly the plants are drilled into the soil. Okay, so there is a direct drilling of plants in the soil. Now what happens when we till the soil? When we till the soil, first thing happens is that carbon is released. Second thing happens is that the biota, we can say the microorganism, the microbiota or the microorganism which live in the soil, they get disturbed. Okay, now in order to prevent this release of carbon from the soil, and in order to restore the health of our soil ecosystem, then we can do zero tillage. Okay, so this is one method. And second thing is cover cropping. What is cover cropping? In cover cropping is a method in which between any two seasons of cash crops, we plant any crop. Okay, say in India we have two important seasons, that is Rabi season and Kharif season. So in between these two seasons, some crops can be planted, and the main goal of these crops is not for production. This is for restoring the health of soil. Okay, if between these two seasons, if the land is not fallow, this means that there won't be any soil erosion. Otherwise, if the land is fallow between these two cash crop seasons, then there could be instances of soil erosion. Okay, and destruction in soil microbiota. So this is known as cover cropping. And then we can do mulching of the soil. Mulching of the soil means post harvesting the crop residue, this can be laid down over the land, agricultural land. This will lead to preservation of soil moisture. Soil moisture will be preserved, and this crop residue, this will biodegrade, and this will act as manure. Okay, so these are certain benefits of crop mulching. And then we can do nutrient management. So what is nutrient management? In this process, basically we can shift more towards organic farming, that is lessen the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and move towards organic farming in order to restore soil health and in order to increase agricultural productivity. That is, whatever we are doing, we need to keep in mind these four things. That is, the health of the ecosystem should be restored, agricultural productivity should be increased, soil health should be restored, and we should mitigate, these processes should store carbon or mitigate climate change. Okay, so link all these processes with these goals. Okay, and then fourth process is agroecology. Agroecology means that is such processes which makes an interconnection between animal health, plant health, soil health, as well as the health of the ecosystem or environment. Okay, so first thing can be crop diversification. As we know, diversity, this is the first element of agroecology, that is promoting diversity, and this can be done by crop diversification. This can be done by intercropping or mixed cropping also. And one another aspect is by planting local crops in different agri-climatic zones. That is, in different agri-climatic zones, the crops which are suited to that zone should be planted. This would be in sync with restoring the health of ecosystem. Okay, and then the fifth element is livestock management. Now this is in order, the elements are rotational grazing. Now see, if there is a rotational grazing, say this is a pasture land, and if there is a rotational grazing, the pressure on one particular portion would be minimized. So that particular portion would restore its health after the crops, after these livestock, these are grazing at other portions of this pasture. Okay, and then another element is manure management. Manure management means that the residue, the waste of these livestock, they can be used as organic fuel, organic fertilizer, as well as this waste of these animals, this can be used to create organic fertilizers. Also it can be used to create biogas. That is, this can also serve, this can also provide economic value to the farmers. Okay, and then land restoration, the final component is land restoration. That is, that can be done by afforestation, basically afforestation of the fallow lands or the wasteland. Okay, or afforestation around the river beds. Okay, and then by managing invasive species such that they do not disturb the local or native ecosystem. So these are the tools by which carbon farming can be promoted. Okay, and then what are the advantages? We all saw that this will restore the health of the soil, this will promote agricultural resilience, that is, the crops would be resilient, and then this will also increase the productivity of the crops by using all these interventions. And then this would be a step towards climate adaptation, and this will reduce the greenhouse gases production. Okay, and then this can also become a source for income generation for the farmers, as we saw by the production of biogas. And also, as a government is promoting socio forestry or agri-forestry, these can be traded by the carbon in the carbon credit, by the method of carbon credits in the carbon credit trading scheme launched by the government. Okay, so these social forests can be traded, so it can be a stream of generating incomes for the farmers, right? But there are certain challenges. What are these challenges? The first thing is there is a lack of awareness in the farmers, or there is a resistance to shift towards these methods. Okay, the second thing is capacity. There is a lack of capacity because, see, mostly our farmers are small and marginal farmers who lack financial capacity. So this capacity can be, they don't have enough financial resources to invest or to shift towards these such kind of organic systems. Okay, because they may fear that their crop production would be low initially. So this may be the fear for them. And then there may be lack of skill. Okay, that how to use such kind of, how to shift or how to use such kind of systems. And then how to, and one another challenge is how to monitor the progress which the farmers are making, because these the parameters could be so vague that couldn't be understood by farmers, or maybe these could be so technical for them. For example, we say that these methods will restore the soil health, but then the facilities to examine the soil samples, they may be too far located from the place, from the farmland of that farmer, and he may not be able to monitor the progress in the soil, in the health profile, in the health of his soil profile. Okay, so monitoring progress is one issue. And then another challenge lies in the restored constant areas. For example, there are some areas, say, which are already devoid of water. Say there is already water crisis in those areas. So the processes like zero tillage, it may be too hard to implement in these areas, because the land, the agricultural land, the soil here would be too hard to work for the zero tillage method to work here. And there may be certain other issues in resource constrained areas. Okay, so these are certain challenges in carbon farming. though government has done some initiatives in this regards. What are these initiatives? Let us quickly see this. Now, first initiative is national innovations in climate resilient agriculture, to move towards climate resilient agriculture. This is an initiative by Indian Council of Agricultural Research, and it aims to enhance the resilience of Indian agricultural systems. Okay, so it has various verticals like cover cropping, livestock, and fisheries. So, resilience of Indian agricultural crops, livestock, and fisheries to climate variability and climate change. And then we have a national mission for sustainable agriculture, and this mission, it includes various initiatives like soil health card. This is a kind of scheme in which the soil profile of any the soil profile can be examined. Okay, and then government is focusing on paramparagat krishi vikas yojana. Paramparagat krishi vikas is organic farming. Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, that is for promotion of organic farming. Government is doing this initiative. And also we have Mission Organic Value Chain Development, particularly in the northeastern region, where primarily say 70% of the northeastern region is dependent on agriculture. And then we have other initiatives like National Bamboo Mission and Submission on Agroforestry to promote agroforestry in these regions also. And then government has created a national adaptation fund for climate change, and this fund will meet the cost of adaptation. As we know, there is a heavy cost of adaptation, so government has created this fund to meet this cost of adaptation to climate change, and it is implemented on project basis in all the states and union territories of India, and particularly in some places, in some districts which are particularly vulnerable to adverse effect of climate change. And then we have another initiative which is Climate Smart Village. So Climate Smart Village, so it is an approach to develop certain clusters in villages or at local level clusters in villages to enhance farmers' abilities to adapt to climate change. And then we have Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. This is in order for to focus on water conservation. And then we have another initiative which is Biotech Kisan, and this is an initiative, this is a scientist farmer partnership for agriculture innovation. This is in order to connect farmers with laboratories, okay, to find out innovative solutions and technologies to be adopted at the farm level. So these are certain initiatives which the government has taken. So with this, let's move on to our next article, and which appeared on the page number 13 of Indian Express. This article is about the debate surrounding the Muslim quota. So recently there has been a slew of debate in India regarding that can reservation be given on religious grounds. Okay, so let's see some provisions regard to it. Now see, this debate says that can a secular country like India can give reservations on the ground of religion, and can Muslims say in this article, can Muslims can be given reservation on religious grounds. Okay, so this is the central idea of this debate. So let's see, why is this topic important? This topic is important for our GS paper 2 polity and governance under Indian constitution, because it contains certain aspects of Indian constitution, and it is also important for our GS paper 2 social justice under welfare schemes for vulnerable sections of population. Okay, now based on this theme, we found these questions in previous year. This was the question which appeared in 2023. Now let's see this question. Now see, in Indian constitution we have certain provisions. Now first of all, India, we have moved from equality to equity. Equality means certain measures, okay, irrespective of what are equalities, means that equality of measures irrespective of the outcomes. Whereas India has now moved towards equity. Equity means that we will focus on outcomes. So in order to provide equal outcomes, the government can give preferential treatment to certain vulnerable sections. Okay, so to certain vulnerable sections, marginalized sections, preferential treatment can be given, and this is given by central government in form of affirmative action. Okay, one example of affirmative action is reservation. Okay, so let's talk about this reservation. Now see, under Article 16 Clause 4 of Indian Constitution, it enables the state to make any provision for reservation in favor of any backward class of citizen which is not adequately represented in the services under the state. That is, the state can make any provision for reservation for any backward class of citizen. Okay. Now this is with respects to socio-educational backwardness. We are talking about backwardness in the sense they are socially as well as educationally backwards. Now for them, under Article 16 Clause 4, government state can make certain reservations to adequately represent them in services. Okay, so that is reservation in public employment. And then see, we have the first Constitutional Amendment Act to the Indian Constitution, which happened in the year 1951. So in this first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951, we inserted Article 15 Clause 4 in Indian Constitution. Now this article says that it empowers the state to make any special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward class of citizens. Again, special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Okay. Now, this is the constitutional basis of affirmative actions. But then we have Article 15 of Indian Constitution, which says that we cannot give reservation based on religion. Say, because this Article 15, it says that prohibition of discrimination. It says that Article 15 prohibits the state from discriminating against citizens on grounds only of religion and caste. Matlab, the state cannot discriminate the citizens on the ground of religion, caste, sex, race, and place of birth. Okay, so this says that any reservation whose sole criteria is just on the grounds of religion cannot be given. So reservation can be given to certain communities if the criteria is backwardness, and that backwardness should be socio and educational backwardness. But reservation cannot be given on the grounds of religion. Okay, so this is what we understood. But now let's see that certain states have given reservations on the ground of religion. Okay, and then we can see that there are certain state level initiatives which give special provisions for Muslims. Now, what are these states? First of all, Kerala. Now, Kerala was made a state in 1956. Before Kerala was a state, it was Travancore Cochin state. So, in the year 1952, Kerala, it granted Muslims were included within other backward classes. Okay, Muslims were included in other backward classes, which at that time constituted 22% of Kerala's population, right? And then in the year 1956, after the statehood of Kerala, Muslims were included in one of the 8 sub-quota categories, and a sub-quota was created within the OBC quota. We all know that, see, other backward classes, there is a list of other backward classes, a central list as well as a state list. Okay, so under the state quota, under the Kerala state OBC quota, a sub quota of 10%, which is now 12%, is given to Muslims. Okay, so this is OBC quota in Kerala, and under this, a 12% quota, OBC quota, is given to Muslims. Okay, and then let's talk about Karnataka. In Karnataka, the third backward classes commission, which was constituted in 1990, it found that Muslims fulfilled the requirements of being considered among the backward classes, right? So in 1995, the government implemented 4% Muslim reservation within the OBC quota. That is, we see that in the state of Karnataka also, Muslims are included in the OBC quota. So in the state quota, in the state OBC quota in Karnataka, they are given 4% reservation within the OBC quota. Okay. And then let's talk about Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, the government passed a law in the year 2007 based on the recommendations of Second Backward Classes Commission that provided 3.5% reservations for Muslims within the 30% OBC quota. So what we are seeing that in certain states, Muslims are given reservation under the OBC quota. Okay. Now, let's see what are the center's interventions on special provisions for Muslims. Let's see what is the debate regarding it. Now there was a Justice Rajinder Sachar committee in the year 2006, which found that Muslim community as a whole was almost as backward as scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and more backward than non-Muslim other backward classes. And then there is a Justice Ranganath Mishra committee of 2007. It suggested that there should be 15% reservation given to minorities, which should include 10% for Muslims. Okay. And then based on these two reports, the UPA government in the year 2012, it issued an executive order to provide 4.5% reservation of minorities. So this reservation of minorities, which was earlier not granted, this at the central level, the government wanted to bring out this 4.5% reservation to minorities within the existing OBC quota of 27%. Okay, so at the central level, we all know that there is a quota limit. There is a 27% OBC quota. So within this quota, government wanted to bring 4.5% reservation for minorities, not just Muslims, all other religious minorities. Okay, and then now see, can government do this? Though this was not implemented, but can government do this? Then we have Article 341 of Indian Constitution. So Article 341 of Indian Constitution, it empowers the President of India to declare certain communities as scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Okay, so this Article 341 of Indian Constitution, along with the presidential order of the year 1950, it states that only Hindus are entitled to inclusion within scheduled caste. Okay, so only Hindus are entitled to inclusion within scheduled caste. But you see, in the year 1956, so via constitutional order, Sikhs were also included within SC's scheduled caste, and Buddhist in the year 1990, they were also included within scheduled caste. Okay, now this brings to the debate that if Sikhs were included in within scheduled caste and Buddhists were also included within scheduled caste, why are only Muslims and Christians they remain excluded? So they should also be included within scheduled caste. Okay, so this argument this is argument that supports religious based reservation. Okay, now this matter is still sub judice, and we can see that what happens in future regarding it. But there are certain things which the government can do in the real time. So read this recommendation as we are running short of time. Okay, now with this, let's move on to our questions for prelims discussion. Now our first question for prelims discussion, it appeared on the page number 9 of the Hindu. Now this, it is inspired by this news article which says understanding the science behind magnetic resonance imaging, MRI. Okay, so let's see a few facts regarding MRI. So what is MRI? MRI is a non-invasive diagnostic technique, that it is non-invasive, and this via this diagnostic procedure this can be used to see the internal organs of any human body. So this can be used to image brain, cardiovascular system, spinal cord, joints, various other muscles like liver, arteries, etc. Okay, and basically this is used to obtain images of the soft tissues within the bodies, and for hard tissues, that is bones which have calcified bones. Okay, so we use X-ray for bones, and X-ray is using ionizing radiation. X-ray uses ionizing radiation because X-ray has high frequency as well as high energy. So X-rays are high energy electromagnetic radiations which are ionizing. Okay, as compared to X-rays, this MRI, these are not ionizing radiations. Let's see that what is the principle behind this MRI. Now what is the principle? The principle is by the use of magnetic field, and by the use of magnetic field as well as radio waves, and these radio waves are electromagnetic radiations which have very low frequency or very low energy. Okay, so what happens, see, inside this there is a MRI scanner. In this image you can see this is an MRI scanner, and this patient or this body can be placed inside this MRI scanner. And what is this? This chamber constitutes of a huge magnet which creates a strong magnetic field. this strong magnetic field is of the order of 1 to 3 Tesla. That is, it is more than 60,000 times more than the magnetic field, which is more than 60,000 times the magnetic field of our Earth. Okay, so this is a very strong magnetic field which is created in this MRI chamber. Okay, now what happens? What is the principle here? That a strong magnetic field is created here. Okay, now see, our body is made of more than 60% of water, or around 60% of our body is made up of water. Now let's break water. Water is H2O. Okay, H2O. So this basically, this is a hydrogen nucleus. So this nucleus, so this is hydrogen atom, or we can say that our body has hydrogen atoms. Okay, now see, these hydrogen atoms, these H plus atoms, they have one inherent property, that is they have magnetic moment. Okay, magnetic moment, this is one property because of which these hydrogen protons, means these hydrogen atoms, they spin around their axis. Now in our body, you can see in this image, this is a visual representation. This is a visual representation of a hydrogen atom which is spinning around its own axis. Now under normal conditions, they can be their direction of spin can be in any random direction. Okay, so they can be oriented in any random direction, as you can see in the first image. Okay, so these are H plus atoms oriented in random direction. Now what will happen if this body is placed inside this MRI chamber? When a strong magnetic field is generated, then this strong magnetic field, this will align all these hydrogen atoms in one particular direction, right? In the direction of magnetic field. So we can see in this image, in the first image, these protons, they were randomly directed. Now in the second image, we can see that they are aligned in one particular direction of magnetic field. Okay, so this is the second step. What happens now? As I already told you that this MRI technique, it uses two processes. One is by the presence of strong magnetic field, and second is by using radio waves. Now in this picture, radio waves come in picture. Now here radio wave come in picture. How? See, all the hydrogen atoms, they are aligned in one particular direction, but there are certain low energy water molecules, or we can say there are certain low energy hydrogen atoms which do not align. In this image, we can see there are only little amount, only fewer amount of these hydrogen atoms which are not aligned in the direction of magnetic field. Okay, now what will happen? Now radio waves will be directed. Okay, now radio waves will be directed. Now these low energy, see, these low energy hydrogen atoms which were earlier not aligned, now because of these radio waves, now they will be aligned again in the direction of magnetic field. Okay, no, in the direction of this, they will be aligned in one direction. All will be aligned in one direction. Okay, because of this application of radio waves here. Now this is why, because they will, earlier they were low energy water molecules, now they will absorb energy from where? From radio waves, and then they will be aligned in one direction. Now the next process, in the next process, these radio waves, they will be discontinued. Okay, when these radio waves will be discontinued, then what will happen? They will again turn back to their original position. So they will return back to their original state. Now in this difference, in energy, when they return back to their initial position, this difference in energy is recorded. Okay, this recorded by computer systems, and then images, MRI image or MRI scan is created. Okay, so this is how this technology works. Now what are the applications? As I already told you that this can be used to image various soft tissues, and they can be used in brain imaging, detecting abnormalities in brain, various tumors, dementia, epilepsy, various other things, cardiovascular imaging, spinal cord imaging, imaging of abdominal and pelvic imaging. Okay, you can read these here in detail. And then this can be, MRI can also be used for detection of cancer. Okay, now with this, let's solve our question, practice question. In the year 2022, we found a question on DNA barcoding. So this is a question related to applications in the field of science and technology. Now let's solve this question. Magnetic resonance imaging utilizes ionizing radiation to obtain images of soft tissues within the body. Now it says that it utilizes ionizing radiations, but we saw that X-rays are a kind of ionizing radiations, but MRI does not use ionizing radiations. Okay, so this is an incorrect statement. The second statement says the technique can be utilized for detection of cancer and neurological condition, and this is a correct statement. So our correct statement would be option B. With this, let's move on to our next topic. This is regarding this news article which appeared on the page number 7 of The Hindu. Now this news article talks about the recently released World Press Freedom Index. So as per this index, India has been ranked 159 out of 180 countries. Okay, so India ranks poorly in the World Press Freedom Index. Okay, so highest rank is occupied by Norway, followed by Denmark, and the lowest rank has been acquired by Eritrea. Okay, and then India is ranked 159. Now let's see a few facts regarding this report. So World Freedom Index is released annually. It is released by Reporters Without Borders. And Reporters Without Borders, it is an international non-profit and non-governmental organization which is focused on safeguarding the right to freedom of information. And so it evaluates 180 countries based on certain criteria, certain categories. These categories are political context, legal framework, economic context, social cultural context, and security. Now we also saw this data. Now India is ranked 159 this year, and it has a slight improvement from its previous rank of 161. But we see in the South Asian region, there are other countries like Pakistan and Sri Lanka. They stand higher than India. Okay, in this report. Now let's solve this question. In the year 2018, we found this question which was regarding Rule of Law Index. Now this practice question says that the World Press Freedom Index is published biennially by Reporters Without Borders. So this is an incorrect statement, and this is published annually. The second statement says that it is published on the basis of questionnaire covering 5 categories. This is a correct statement. India is ranked highest in the index in the South Asian region. This is incorrect statement, as there are certain countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they rank higher than India. Okay. Now let's move on to our final article of the day, which is inspired by this news article which appeared on the page number 10 of The Hindu. And now this article is regarding marine heat waves. Now see, what are marine heat waves? See, marine heat waves are is the abnormal heating of surface temperatures of any sea. See, there is no proper definition of marine heat waves, but in Indian context, let us see that from the average temperatures of 30 years. Okay, so from the average temperatures of 30 years for any particular ocean, if there is a departure of 4 degrees centigrade or 5 degrees centigrade from the average temperature, and this departure, if the temperature increases more than 4 degree or 5 degree centigrade from the average temperature of 30 years, and if this departure it remains for 5 days or more than 5 days, then this is known as marine heat wave. Okay, so there can be some natural reasons for it, but the most primary reason is global warming, the climate change induced ocean warming or global warming. This is the foremost reason for marine heat waves. And now what are the impacts of marine heat waves? It can have harmful impact on the marine ecosystem. For example, coral bleaching. It is one impact of marine heat waves, that the corals will be bleached more frequently. Okay, and then marine industries, the fisheries and aquaculture, they can suffer due to changes in fish distribution. Okay, and then human activities, that is certain human activities like tourism, fishing, and other ocean related activities, they can be hampered, and it can have long term impact on the ecosystem, on the ocean ecosystem, and the seagrass meadows can also be impacted by heat waves. Okay, so recently the scientists of ICAR, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, they said that severe coral bleaching has been observed in Lakshadweep due to marine heat waves. We all know that Lakshadweep is a coral island. Now let's solve this practice question. In the year 2020, we found a question regarding ocean mean temperature. Now let's solve this question, which says that consider the following statements with reference to marine heat waves. Statement 1. It is an extreme rise in temperature that lasts for at least 360 days, and it is an incorrect statement. So it should last for 5 days or more than 5 days. It impacts the islands of Andaman and Nicobar, which are coral in origin. This statement is partially wrong in the second half, because Andaman and Nicobar, these are not coral in origin. Lakshadweep Islands are coral in origin. So the heat wave can impact, though heat wave can impact the islands of Andaman and Nicobar, but these islands are not coral in origin. Okay, they are volcanic in origin. And then it adversely affects seagrass meadows. This is a correct statement. So the correct answer is only one statement is correct. So uh, that's all for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section. Okay, thank you.